This is where the NFL stops pretending the regular season is still about vibes and starts showing its teeth. Because once playoff clinching scenarios enter the conversation, every snap turns into leverage and every mistake turns into regret. And what Stephen A. and Rich Eisen laid out wasn't just a roadmap, it was a warning. Teams aren't just fighting for wins anymore, they're fighting for control, for rest, for seeding, for survival. And the uncomfortable truth is that some franchises are about to find out that the margin between being in and being irrelevant is thinner than they ever admitted. This isn't speculation season, this is consequence season. When you hear phrases like win and you're in, lose and you wait, or worse, lose and you're done, the entire tone of the league shifts. Coaches stop experimenting. Quarterbacks stop forcing highlight throws. Defensive coordinators tighten the screws. And fans, whether they want to admit it or not, start scoreboard watching instead of watching their own game. That's why this conversation mattered, because buried inside the confusion, the jokes, the music cues, and the chaos was a brutally clear message. Week 16 is about to expose who's real and who's been borrowing time. The Broncos didn't borrow time, they punched their ticket. The Rams didn't ask permission, they took their spot. And now everyone else is standing in line hoping the door doesn't slam shut before they get there. This is where seasons flip in a single afternoon, where franchises rewrite narratives in one night game, and where excuses finally run out. What set this whole thing off was the simple question of who's already in and who can get in right now. And the answers came fast. The Denver Broncos are officially in the playoffs after their win over the Packers, locking up a berth and announcing to the rest of the AFC that they're not just a story, they're a problem. The Los Angeles Rams did the same by beating the Lions, claiming their place and reminding everyone that experience and timing still matter when the calendar turns. 2 spots gone, 12 left. And suddenly the math matters more than opinions. That's why Stephen A. pulled out the scenarios, because at this point, the league isn't about hypotheticals anymore, it's about conditions. Win here, lose there, and everything changes. And if you want to stay ahead of this madness as it unfolds, make sure you subscribe to the channel and leave a like, because this is where the playoff picture actually gets decoded. The AFC is where the tension really spikes, starting with Denver, because their situation isn't just about being in, it's about how high they can climb. If the Broncos beat the Jaguars and the Chargers lose in Dallas, the AFC West is wrapped. That's not drama, that's dominance. And if that happens, and both the Bills and Patriots also lose, Denver would walk out of Week 16 with the #1 seed locked up with 2 weeks still left. Is it likely? No. Is it possible? Absolutely. And that possibility alone changes how opponents prepare, because nobody wants to be the team that let Denver secure home field advantage before New Year's. That's the kind of scenario that tightens locker rooms and amplifies pressure. Then comes Buffalo, and this is where the conversation gets messy, because the Bills exist in that uncomfortable middle ground where they're dangerous enough to scare everyone, but not comfortable enough to relax. For the first time this season, they actually have a playoff clinching scenario in front of them. If Buffalo wins in Cleveland and either the Colts or the Texans lose, they're in. That's it. No style points, no committee vote, just business. And if they handle their job, they'll be sitting there watching Monday Night Football, rooting hard for the 49ers, knowing their season might hinge on a game they're not even playing in. That's the psychological grind of December football. You win, but you're not done. You wait, and waiting is brutal. New England's situation is simpler and more dangerous because simplicity brings pressure. Win and they're in. That's it. Or an Indianapolis loss gets them there as well. No maze of conditions, no scoreboard gymnastics, just execution. And when a team knows it controls its own destiny, that clearly there's nowhere to hide. The Jaguars are in a similar but slightly more complicated spot. If Jacksonville wins in Denver and Indianapolis loses, they're in. That's respect, as Stephen A. put it, because it means their season has put them in position where help might come, but they still have to earn it. Going into Denver isn't a formality. It's a test, and if they pass it, they validate everything they've built this year. The Chargers scenario adds another layer of chaos. If they win in Dallas and Jacksonville wins, and Buffalo wins, and Indianapolis loses, that's 3 playoff tickets punched in one sequence. That's why that Monday night Colts game suddenly feels like the axis of the league. One result there delays everything. One upset there freezes the entire picture for another week. And that's why Rich Eisen joked about Phillip Rivers coming off the couch to save the Colts season, because in this part of the year, it feels like anything could happen and everything is connected. The NFC doesn't let up either. Philadelphia's magic number is 1 to clinch the East. 1. That's it. And the scenarios back it up. If Dallas loses, the Eagles are in control. They're at Washington on Saturday, part of a doubleheader, with no room for weird outcomes like ties muddying the picture. Meanwhile, the Bears and Packers are staring at each other, knowing that whoever wins needs help from Pittsburgh to beat Detroit. That's the reality. Win your rivalry game, then sit back and hope the Steelers do you a favor in Detroit. That's playoff football before the playoffs even start. San Francisco's path is refreshingly direct. Beat the Colts and they're in. No waiting, no guessing. Handle business. Or if Detroit loses, they already know they're in before kickoff. That kind of clarity is rare this late in the season, and it's a luxury teams crave. Seattle's situation hinges on winning, and they're in, or waiting and hoping Detroit loses. And hovering over all of it is the reality that the West can't even be clinched yet because the Niners are still lurking. That's not paranoia. That's math. What Stephen A. and Rich Eisen really exposed in this breakdown is how fragile the league feels at this point. One upset cascades. One injury reshapes brackets. One unexpected win delays celebrations. And that's why these scenarios aren't just trivia, they're emotional landmines. Coaches know it. Players feel it. Fans live it. Every team mentioned is one Sunday away from relief or regret. By the time they wrapped it up, the bottom line was clear, even if the math was dizzying. If the Niners beat the Colts, they punch their own ticket. If the Lions beat the Steelers, the Niners still control their fate on Monday night. And if the Bills, Jaguars, and Chargers all win, while Indianapolis loses, 4 playoff tickets get punched in one brutal swing. That's not chaos. That's clarity disguised as madness. And that's why this moment matters. Because the NFL doesn't ease into the postseason. It drags teams there, kicking and screaming, forcing them to prove they belong. Week 16 isn't about potential anymore. It's about permission, and only a few teams are about to get it.